Chair Dingra, Vice Chair Trudeau, Ranking Member Patton, and distinguished committee members, thank you for this opportunity to testify today in strong support of HB 1455. I'm Michele Hanash, Director of Policy and Women's Programs at AHA Foundation, a nonprofit working to end harmful practices like child marriage. Child marriage is inherently dangerous because of a minor's limited legal rights. Until the day a child turns 18, and not before, a child only receives the full rights of adulthood. Until that point, they can easily be forced to marry, and that is true even for the most mature 17-year-old. Before 18, a child cannot simply run away from home to escape a forced marriage. State Patrol will make information about a runaway publicly available to facilitate the return, and DCYF must try to notify the parents before taking them to a secure facility. Advocates like AHA and our allies are generally required to report the location of a runaway. We can even be charged with a gross misdemeanor for harboring a minor. And if a child did somehow manage to run away, they would have nowhere to go. Domestic violence shelters routinely turn away unaccompanied minors. Youth shelters are not a solution. They are not confidential and generally must notify parents or DCYF within 72 hours. An adult in this terrifying situation could retain an attorney to help them figure out their rights, but most contracts, as you heard, with minors are voidable, including retainer agreements, and it can be impossible for a child to find an attorney to represent them. They're also not allowed to independently bring a legal action, bringing additional obstacles. Setting aside the vast practical barriers, it's shocking. A minor who marries another minor is not even allowed to independently file for divorce. And as you heard, children who marry adults receive some limited rights of adulthood, but those rights obviously come too late to prevent a forced marriage. They must first experience that trauma, likely being pulled out of school, raped on the wedding night, every night thereafter, before getting those limited rights they may never even become aware of. You cannot unrape a girl by later emancipating her. It's also unclear if an emancipated child could escape to a domestic violence shelter still. And again, these rights would not be given to children who do not marry an adult. So because of this nightmarish legal trap, when girls learn of their limited options, they turn to self-harm and suicide attempts. We receive these cries for help, and they are heartbreaking. Child marriage is also inherently dangerous because of the devastating lifelong repercussions. It destroys nearly all aspects of a minor's health, education, and economic opportunities, more likely to experience physical, sexual violence, lose all sexual and reproductive rights, and suffer additional instability and hardship, as 70 to 80% of child marriages ends in divorce. For these reasons, the U.S. State Department calls marriage before 18 a human rights abuse. And finally, I wish I could say that this was not happening with alarming frequency in Washington, but unfortunately, between 2000 and 2021, in Washington, 5,048 minors were married. 83% were girls wed to adult men, and as you heard, between 38 and 51, marriages occurred with a spousal age difference that met the definition of a sex crime. We are literally sending children home to be raped under Washington law. The good news, there is a simple solution. This legislation harms no one, costs nothing, and ends a human rights abuse. And so we ask that you please immediately vote yes on 1455.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.